primary destiny for most amino acid carbon skeletons is actually to be used to synthesize glucose. The body takes the vast majority of these stripped-down skeletons and uses them to manufacture glucose molecules from scratch, working incredibly hard just to keep your internal engine running on a fuel it already knows and loves.
Which brings us to section 2, the glucose conversion process.
Now that we've successfully synthesized this shiny new glucose from our excess dietary amino acids, we have to enter the engine room of the cell. Because this newly synthesized glucose doesn't just, spontaneously turn into fuel. Not at all. It has to run a completely exhausting metabolic gauntlet. It's forced through glycolysis, then it passes through pyruvate dehydrogenase, and finally it enters the TCA cycle. Getting energy from an amino acid is biologically exhausting, and it carries a really high cellular overhead. Think of standard carbohydrate energy like having cold hard cash in your hand. It is ready to spend right now. Amino acid energy, on the other hand, it's kind of more like an out-of-state check. It has to be verified, processed, routed through multiple biological banks, and it incurs a heavy processing fee along the way.
All right, let's get into section 3, the efficiency showdown.
So, we've mapped out the complex gauntlet our amino acids have to run just to become glucose and eventually yield energy. So, how does our hard-working amino acid-derived glucose actually compare to glucose derived straight from a carbohydrate? Well, the answer is a stunning negative 32%. Yeah, you heard that right. After all of that intense biological work, the catabolism of the excess amino acids, the creation of the carbon skeletons, the synthesis into glucose, and running that brutal multi-step cellular gauntlet, the final energy output is roughly 32% less than if the body had just started with carbohydrates in the absolute first place.
When you really look at the sheer efficiency deficit here, the gap is just massive. If carbohydrate-derived glucose represents our baseline, like our maximum energy output at a full 100%, our amino acid-derived glucose is sitting way down there at 68%. So the absolute crucial point to remember is this: glucogenic amino acids that are converted to glucose are simply a much, much less efficient source of energy. Those overhead costs of the cellular conversion process actively eat away at your body's final energy yield.
What this all ultimately means for your cellular metabolism is honestly just a matter of work versus reward. Carbohydrates provide this direct, highly efficient path right to your maximum energy baseline. Boom, done. Amino acids, however, they require intensive stripping, highly complex cellular conversion, and an absolutely exhausting metabolic gauntlet, only to yield significantly less energy at the end of the day. Your body is doing vastly more heavy lifting just to ultimately get a lower energetic reward.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to really reflect on. Is your body working harder for less energy?